Okay, so this is part 3, I think, of the walkthrough for the Knime monster processor that I wrote up. Last time I talked about how the copy images bit worked, and this time we're going to talk about combining the sheet data, and that shouldn't take too long, and we can talk about how the parent folder note writing works. So just a quick summary, we've set up a bunch of execution variables here that define where our paths are and what we want to overwrite. We've done a little bit of housekeeping to get them into usable states. We've copied all of our images into our asset folder. And now what we want to do is we want to look at the workbook and find all of the data that we want to write out. So this is another meta node. Again, a meta node is just a converter, or I'm sorry, not a converter, it's a container that encapsulates all the other nodes, mostly for organizational purposes. If we go into this guy, you'll see that he has a number of operations going on. These were originally up here. And I think my original image was just like a monster. Having these meta nodes really kind of cleans things up visually, makes it a little bit easier to organize. So again, we're bringing variables in. The red line is a variable line, and the black line is a table line. So this is bringing variables in and out. This is sending table data in and out. So the first thing we have to do is we have to go get all of the data out of our workbook. And so what I'm doing here is I'm getting the list of every sheet in the workbook. And this is a read Excel sheet names node. It's designed specifically to do that. I am passing in the variable that contains the location of the worksheet, and this construct they've got here with, a browse button and a variable button is the same that they have for most of the time you can do this. So you'll notice I'm pointing to workbook path location, and so this thing, there's not a whole lot of control to it. You just say, go out to that workbook, go get me all the sheets. And so it spews that out as a table. And if we look at this, we can see that on this one we have, this is still demo 2, we've got 4 sheets, right? Really pretty straightforward. And then this table row to variable loop start, this nice short name, it's basically it's a for each iterator essentially. So what we're doing here is we're starting our for each loop for every row in this table. We're going to go convert some values into variables. And then this is the end of that loop. So every time we hit this guy here, it's going to head back to the start of this and process the next row. All right. So this right here is their built-in Excel reader node. This is going to take the variables that we pass into it, and it is going to use that to go read our Excel sheet. So we've got our location right here. We want to tell it what sheet we want to read, and it is, I've noticed this before, this is not supposed to be set to first sheet. It's supposed to be set to sheet with name. Because what we've done is we've come up into the flow variables section and we've given it the sheet name using this sheet string, this sheet variable. So if we look at this, you'll notice that there is a sheet variable here that starts with dragon. So what we should be seeing here in this Accelerator is this thing should process each sheet. So we have to match it by the name, but we want to give it the flow variable to tell it where to get that name. If we leave it set here, it'll always go to this first sheet. And then you'll never read anything but the first sheet in your workbook, so that would be bad. What I've noticed is sometimes coming into this node, it defaults back to get the first sheet with data. And if you don't keep an eye on that, that'll bite you, so be careful about that. So as you can see, we're going out, we're getting data out of a sheet. The rest of this is just telling it how to process that sheet, right? If you have header names, which I would recommend you do, whether or not you want row IDs, I don't care, so I just left it alone. If you have, say you only wanted to read, a certain cell range within your worksheet, you can set that too if you want. Again, I don't care. Then it gives you a preview of what it's going to read right here. Okay, so that's what this guy does. And then we take all of that data from the Excel worksheet, and we want to add the name of the sheet into that data as an additional column. We're doing that because that sheet name is going to become the parent node. So I have to add that sheet name in as a column so that I can then process it. I also use a Java snippet just to spew some information out to the console. And that is using Node Logger to do that. And then it just writes out to the console. I only wanted to write it once per sheet. So that's why I've got this row index test in here. If I didn't have that, every row, so every monster for that sheet, it would say, I'm processing this sheet, and that's annoying. So I'm only doing it once. Then we come down here, and I need to pull out the name of the sheet from the parent folder. Or I'm sorry, not the name of the sheet. I need to pull the parent out of here. So I've got a regular expression here, and what I'm doing is I am looking for the text that is after the slash. So if you look at the workbook, like if we come here and we look at the parent, in this case we just have A, but for an aspis it would be A whack aspis, right? So what we're looking for here is we are looking for the name of the folder that this is going to go into. And again, regular expression syntax, I will leave that to you to research on your own. But we're adding that as another column. So now we end up getting, what we're trying to split out is, oh, well, that's interesting. We're trying to split out the overall, head of the parent from the sheet. And then I want to extract out the folder note. This is again doing a regular expression, but it is doing a slightly different one. So what we're doing here on the first one is we're looking at all of the text after the slash, and we're just replacing it with nothing. So it wipes that out, and we're dumping that into a new column. Then the next one gets everything, finds everything in front of the slash and gets rid of that and dumps that into a new column. So we end up having two additional columns after this, one that's got the parent and one that's got the folder note. And so if you look here, you'll see parent and folder note. I'd kind of like to do that with a string split, but I couldn't figure out how to do that in here. So that might evolve later. But we do that for every sheet. And once that's all done, all of that data for every monster, for every sheet, comes out here, and we end up getting these guys here. It includes an iteration column. We don't use it, so I don't worry about it. But we have our sheet, we have our parent, we have our folder name. So on the main sheet, these are going to be the same, right, for all the monsters. But if we go to Dragon, you'll notice that they're now different. And then I just sort them so they're all in order, and then I send that back out here, and then that's going to get used in two places, once here and once here. So that's been about 10 minutes. So it turns out I'm going to make another video for this instead of putting it on the end of this one. So that's how all the sheet data is combined. Next time I'll talk about writing the folder notes. So I hope that made sense to you. If you got any questions, let me know. Enjoy.